So, hi Shailaja from Rimagined. How are you today?
Doing good, Afsha. Thanks for having me over.
Welcome to Rosie, and thank you for joining us. In this very special conversation that we're trying to have in observance of Plastic Free Month in July. But you have a whole lot of experience not just with plastic, but you have a whole lot of experience with so many other things that a lot of us consider waste. So can you tell us a little bit about what you do and how you got into doing that?
I would say my work with waste started around 7 to 8 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So it started off within my apartment complex where we wanted to implement waste management, beginning with waste segregation and responsible handling of waste. From there, it went on to becoming a full-time volunteer, working in and around Whitefield, part of Bangalore, and trying to implement waste handling processes across the area. And the more and more I got involved with waste, like literally getting my hands dirty, I realized that waste segregation alone cannot solve the problem.
Yeah.
The problem is much bigger than that. The problem lies with the amount of waste we are generating in the first place. And when I looked back and thought about my childhood, there was no question of anybody coming to pick up waste because there wasn't any waste. So the only reason being the lifestyle changes that has happened in the last 1 decade. Not more than that actually.
Yeah.
So that kind of woke me up and said, okay, as long as we are just consuming and throwing away stuff just because we can afford it and it's easily accessible, and now we have so many cheaper versions of stuff easily available to everyone, as long as we continue to do that, we are not going to even address this problem the true way. And at the same time, it was also kind of scary to think the volume of virgin resources we are consuming just by our lifestyles.
Yeah.
And that's when I realized that if I really want to make a difference, I should look beyond waste segregation. I should look at promoting sustainable consumption. The ideal scenario would be tell people please don't buy, please don't consume.
Yeah, which is really hard, isn't it?
Which is impractical as well. So nobody is going to even spare a thought when I say something like that.
Yeah.
That's when upcycling came to my mind, which is actually our traditional Indian lifestyle of repurposing stuff.
That's
so earlier, if you look at the early generations, like if they need something, they would just not go and buy. They would figure out a way that they can use something which is already present with them and make use of it.
Can you maybe give us an example of this?
I think almost all the Indian households would have seen their mothers and grandmothers repurposing old saris and making dohas from it.
Yeah, that's true.
It still exists when you go to the rural India. It's still there. There is nothing but upcycling, right?
Yeah.
So a sari is stone, it has a tear somewhere. Nobody would just throw it away. And a broken bucket becomes a gamla.
Okay, yeah.
Serves the purpose, right? You can always plant something in it. So that is what is very, very basic example of upcycling. Now to really convey the idea, it has to be done in a proper manner.
Of course.
And if I'm aiming to make this a movement and make this an alternate lifestyle model for millions of Indians, I realized it has to be something just beyond an idea or just a concept. It has to become a professionally run organization which promotes only upcycling. And that's where Rimagined came into being 3 years ago.
It's a very fascinating name, Rimagined, because I kept saying reimagined, and I'm sure you face this problem a lot. Everyone's probably calling it reimagined.
Yes. So, to be very frank, reimagined, the word was already taken up before I could even take the domain.
Yeah.
But at the same time, for me, I said, okay, the concept is different, the name also can be different. So that's when I picked up Rimagined, and the reverse R says it all, saying I'm actually reversing the loop. So anything that would actually end up in landfill is getting rerouted back into circulation, which is what is circular economy. It is a loop.
Yeah.
So that's when Rimagined, and the reason why the past tense is there is like we have already reimagined it for you.
Yeah.
What we are offering you is already thought about and we are bringing it to you. So we have done the thinking part. You take care of the consumption part.
Yeah. You were telling me about this very fascinating mirror that you made out of an old window.
Yeah.
I mean, what else have you repurposed in a similar fashion?
So we actually work with anything and everything that gets dumped. Say for instance, a window frame. So when we were designing a store also, we went to the scrap market and picked up, it was a broken window frame that was lying there, and so it was actually the two windows with the copper handle. It was beautiful, but scrap. We picked it up and transformed that into a mirror. Similarly, so people come to us with their broken stool. Like, actually, it's a very basic MDF or ply stool that they are throwing it away. Then she came to me saying, "Can you do something with it?" So my mantra is, nothing needs to go waste.
That's true.
So we transformed that, and that became a side stool for her in her place. And a couple of people have come to me saying, "Can you make a memory quilt for my kid?" And when you say memory, it's actually when you look at that piece of fabric, it reminds you of somebody, right? So all the family members contributed one garment, and we picked it up and created a beautiful pattern.
Wow.
That became a memory quilt for the doctor who was traveling to the US.
Wow, that's so beautiful.
Similarly, so anything and everything. So now people come to us saying, "I actually need this piece of furniture, which I don't want to buy it online or go to the regular market. Can you design it from scrap wood for us?"
Yeah.
We do it. To the point, the overall aim is anything and everything that you use in your day-to-day living, we can create an upcycled alternative for you, where you don't have to compromise on the looks, you don't have to compromise on the finish. And when you look at it, you cannot make out it's made from scrap.
That's really nice.
So that is the purpose, because the moment somebody talks about waste, the visualization is very different. And that's also a reason why we say, see it to believe it.
Yeah.
So anything and everything. So we don't limit ourselves to one material to say.
Okay. You know, I mean, Shailaja, you've also been, a huge promoter of sustainable living, but also about, providing livelihoods to women who, and empowering them, to make better decisions or take greater part in their households. Can you tell us a little bit more about this and why it's so important, especially now in this day and age?
Sure. When I wanted to set up my own production unit for Rimagined, and I realized there is going to be a lot of manual work where the waste has to undergo transformation to start looking at something beautiful. It was by default, it just made sense, why not create sustainable livelihood option? And I am dead against sweatshop created products.
Yeah.
And that really gets to me. So when I got an opportunity to set up the own production unit for Rimagined, it seemed to be the default choice, saying, let's also make sustainable livelihood and dignified living another foundation of the company.
I love the word dignified living. I mean, it's
Yes.
not something that we really see being practiced every day. So how did you take steps to ensure that this happened?
So when the unit had to be set up, it was actually a coincidence that my friend from Kolkata, Priya Biswas, she's an artist, a beautiful painter, and she teaches special kids in a school. And this school is run for free because the children come from extremely poor backgrounds.
Okay.
And she used to see these mothers who would accompany the children, sit outside the school for those 3 to 5 hours when the child isn't there. They can't afford the commute as well because it costs money. So they would just sit outside. So she noticed that these mothers are sitting there, and she reached out to me saying, is there any way we can do something for them? It may not be big earning, but something to augment their income.
Yeah.
And it was around the same time that I was contemplating setting up a own production unit. And it was just connecting the dot and seemed so logical.
Yeah.
I said, let's do it. So that's how the first production unit came up in Kolkata. And these mothers, the first time I remember meeting them, so I met them in the classroom, they were all sitting there. And it shook me up. The look on their face, totally exhausted. Coming from an extremely poor background and with a special child is not an easy battle.
No, it's not.
And when I spoke to them, they were very skeptical.
Okay.
Saying, okay, it seems too good to be true. And I said, let's give it a chance. And it's not like I have a lot of experience in setting up a unit or creating livelihoods and all. I don't have any experience. I said, let's learn together. You have no skill set, I have no experience. So we both will learn in the process.
Okay.
So that's how the first team of 8 women came together. Out of the 20 odd women who were there in that room, 8 women came forward saying, okay Didi, you train us. And that's where the journey started. And they're also a reason that they keep me going, saying, if they have not given up in life, I've got no rights to give up on anything in life.
Yeah.
And even when we wanted to train them, so it was a 30,000 feet idea that I got, let's work with denim scrap. So we needed tailors to train them, and the master tailors who came to train them, they had a day job. They said, we can't come during the daytime, we can train during the night.
Okay.
And I was surprised. The mother said, okay.
They did it. Wow.
Yes, the training would start from 8:30 p.m. and go on till 1 a.m. And it was around the winter time in Kolkata where it was pretty cold. So we put the mattresses for the children to sleep there, and during the night the mothers would get trained.
Oh wow.
That's the level of commitment. And when they saw these 8 mothers actually learning and being able to do something, the others came forward saying, can we also join you? So that's how it picked up, and it has been a learning and growing experience for both of us, as a company, as an individual for me, and also as mothers. And today I can proudly say that they have a fixed salary that they get every month, and very, very simple wins that we have. So one mother is now able to put her other child in school. She's able to afford that. And then one more mother said, can you give me a salary statement because we plan to go to the bank to take a home loan.
Wow.
One lady has actually bought a 1-bedroom flat.
Oh.
So this is transformation, and I feel happy that things just came together beautifully for. And I don't like selling sob stories. I don't think anybody needs to hear sob stories. They work with a lot of pride. And there's a lot of dignity and self-respect that is involved in the work that they do. So I don't like the bichara angle in any way. I don't think anybody needs to treat them that way. They work hard, extremely hardworking. So for me, where we are today, and people talk about Rimagined, I would give full credit to that team.
Yeah, I mean, I've actually seen some of the products. They're pretty top notch. I mean, they're things that I would love to, display in my house, at Rosé, in so many different places. We were also earlier talking about how all of us can sort of like do our own bit, when we compare ourselves to, some of the ladies you work with who come from different backgrounds. I mean, we do come from a place of like great privilege.
True.
But, it's, I think it's harder for us to sort of adapt to a more sustainable lifestyle because our privilege allows us to discard something and not, think about it. So how would you imagine, we do our bit as well in our own little ways?
It's a very simple thing. The reason is like you look at the problem in totality, it seems overwhelming. When you break it down to your everyday consumption pattern, right, you will see so many avenues for change. Say, you start your day opening your wardrobe and see, okay, what do I wear? It's not because you have few clothes, it's because you have way too many clothes, right?
Yeah.
That's what sustainable consumption is all about. So any time you pick up a garment or you buy something, just stop and contemplate. By buying this, what am I contributing to?
Okay.
Alright? So am I adding to sweatshops? Am I adding to overconsumption? Am I giving business to a brand that doesn't care two hoots about sustainability? If I buy this product, where is the money actually going? In the back end, who is benefiting from this? Simple things. And say anything is broken, or usually what we do is we don't even think of fixing the gadgets.
Yeah.
We just throw it away, go and buy a new one.
Yeah.
Instead, can we just pause and say, instead of buying a new one, can I figure out a way to fix this?
Yeah.
There are repair cafes and people who do these fixings. There still are stores that do that. So take the trouble of identifying such people or stores who can actually fix it for us rather than going and buying a new one.
Yeah.
Very much doable.
Actually, in fact, if you still do want a new one, there are websites now that buy old mobile sets, laptops. They sort of like refurbish them and sell them, and there are buyers for these refurbished products, and there is money to be made in like old cracked cell phones or a laptop with like a key missing, for example.
True.
So there are many avenues for all of this.
So all this small decision, it's like just pause for 10 seconds to think and you'll get an answer.
Yeah.
So because the world is not ending if you have to go and buy it right away, not required. So just take it a little slow. And what I've also noticed is I was a shopaholic. Let me be frank. When I was in the corporate world, I had the money, I had the luxury, I had the time, everything. So I would just go pick up stuff because it looks nice on the window display, right? Then I told myself, I like something, I'm going to hold back for 2 or 3 days
Yeah.
and then come back to it.
Yeah.
And trust me, 99% of the cases that urge is gone.
Yeah, that's so true.
So that impulsive purchase is what is the culprit, I would say, to a very large extent, just because we can afford it. Instead, just hold back. Hold back for a second, for a moment, or a day or two, depending on what you're looking at buying.
Yeah.
And evaluate the alternatives and figure out the one which helps somebody else in the back end, makes a difference to his or her life in a positive way, helps the environment. Everything that we use is taking away virgin resource today.
I mean, can you give us some examples, maybe some stats of like, I mean, these virgin resources, what exactly they are, I mean, and
say for instance, you pick up a t-shirt off the shelf, right? The water that goes into making a t-shirt can actually support a person for 3 months, 3 full months.
Not to mention, actually, the t-shirt takes around 2,500 liters of water to make one t-shirt.
And denims that we buy so much, it's the entire process is so polluting. Because for you, denim is nothing but cotton, but when you look at cotton, it doesn't have that stiffness or the color or what. The treatment that goes into making denim look the way it is to make it the tough fabric is extremely chemical intensive.
Okay.
And that kills the environment. So, do you really need so many pairs of denims? Do you need all the latest fashion? So, you decide what your sense of fashion is going to be, not what is there on social media. So, and also like the shoes that we wear, right? Now, what are all the options that you have for footwear? Now, do you really need 10 pairs of shoes? Or
I
can
don't.
you make, I don't think anybody needs.
And yet we somehow manage to have that many. In fact, actually, I know of people whose the pride in possession right now is a shoe closet.
Oh yeah, while working with the corporate, I have a friend who actually did this counting. So she had 35 pairs of shoes, different styles, and she also categorized her clothing. And in terms of kurtas, this, that, and she said, you know what, Shail? If I really wear my outfits, I won't need to repeat an outfit for 9 months.
Oh my God.
This while working with the corporate world where you really don't repeat an outfit within a week, probably.
Yeah.
So that's the number of outfits she had collected. So unknowingly, and she actually showed me an Excel sheet where she had done the categorization and put a count for each type. And I was like, oh my God.
Oh my God, yeah.
And the same day I came back home and to do a check, thankfully it was nowhere close.
But you are somewhere, I mean, I think we all are there somewhere. I mean, I'm fairly certain I don't have to repeat an outfit for at least 3 months.
All of us have been there. See, it's not a conscious thing. Unknowingly we have done that. So that's the reason I don't want to take a high moral stance saying I am here. I was also there. Now it's in the last few years of my wake-up call, I have really decluttered the space.
Yeah.
For me now, when I see an empty wardrobe, I smile.
Yeah.
That gives me joy. So that's what and I don't mind wearing the same sari to every other meeting. I take pride.
Yeah.
This is my own creation, so why will I not love it?
Yeah.
And I really...
it is a beautiful sari, I must add.
So nobody will believe this is made from waste cotton yarn.
That's really...
Yes.
Wow.
Every single piece of thread in this was actually separated by a handloom weaver from waste.
Oh wow.
So that's the effort that has gone in. So there are alternatives. We just need to take the trouble of reading up, take the trouble of understanding. Just don't pick up stuff off the shelf. Read, understand, become aware slowly. Because once you become aware, I don't think any individual can just ignore and say, I really don't care.
Yeah.
Somewhere it's getting registered in the back of your mind. The change will happen.
Yeah.
That's a very simple.
There's conscious consumerism and then there's conscious unconsumerism. I mean, that's possibly the...
That's the next level.
Yeah.
That's the next level. Because even when people come to buy a product, they're like this or this, maybe I should pick up both. And then I actually tell them, do you really need it?
Yeah.
Because I feel it's wrong to just sell something which is not really necessary for them. So it's not just business, it's business with a purpose. So buy it only if you really need it. Most of the cases we buy because we like it. So, and if you have to give somebody, Give the right thing, right?
Yeah.
Not something that will just again get gift wrapped and handed over to somebody else.
Yeah, absolutely. Something that has actually a story,
Some
that
meaning
was
to it, yeah.
that was once purposed and then now repurposed.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much for joining us. This
It's
was
been a
a
pleasure.
wonderful, wonderful experience for all of us.
Lovely talking.
And thank you all for tuning in live. And we'll see you next week, next Thursday.
Thank you all.